Welcome, everybody. Today, we want to answer the question on everybody's mind. Could your service department be the next Bud Light? I also am going to tell Bud Light how to fix their problem. A little late, but I'm still going to tell them. Christian shares a story that, I don't know, you don't want your kids to hear, but still relevant. Very. The news and much, much more coming up on this edition of Service Drive Revolution. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bait Show. How are you, Kashon?
I'm doing great.
How was your weekend?
Oh, boy.
It started off Saturday. You came over to my place.
I did. So
that was get together.
That was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed hanging out and watching the boxing. So one of my favorite things about going over to Chris's house and watching the boxing is, I have to say this first off, right? I don't know a lot about boxing, but Chris's friend Matt knows a lot about boxing, and it's like having my own color commentary guy there while I'm watching the fights. And I only thought of it yesterday that he's probably sick of me asking him questions when he just wants to watch the fight. But for me, I think it's beautiful.
No, there's a whole back end of this that you don't know. But earlier in the day, he emailed me a form. He wanted everybody who came over to keep track by round, like score the fight, and then have a contest at the end. Like everybody puts in $100 or something.
Like buying a Super Bowl squares, but for boxing almost.
But scoring boxing's harder. It's harder than scoring baseball.
Yeah, because I don't even understand how the scoring works.
Yeah, so he wanted everybody to score.
That's pretty funny.
I told him my printer was broken.
I don't think it is, but
it isn't. But I didn't want to do that.
So
make it work.
so that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed going over there. That was a really good number of people there.
Your girlfriend is now wearing very fancy, expensive shoes.
She's got the fever a little bit.
Yeah.
So
purses and shoes. You've spoiled her
a little bit.
You've created something.
It's great. It raises her self-confidence, though. Because people do tell her they like the shoes.
It's good.
So I kind of dig that a little bit. So that was great. And then, so weird stuff happened on Sunday, though, where I usually over the weekends, I like to go out and do hiking. So this weekend was a Malibu trip, which I think that there's some of the best views in the world are in Malibu. Overlooking the ocean and everything like that. But I know that I like my car now. I really like it. So
midlife crisis car?
Yeah, the midlife crisis car.
Convertible sports car?
As you call it, yep. So first off, yesterday, great day for the top down. It was just a perfect temperature out, and it was really, really nice. So we go out into the hills, probably is what they would be called. So we go up into this thing, and like to get to the hiking trail, you have to go through probably 6 miles of like really windy, snaky roads, which look like they'd be really fun to do in a motorcycle. But after winding around, finally find a parking spot on the street, which by street, I mean, it was like a one lane kind of situation where it was like people went the same road, both directions. So it was a little bit nerve wracking. And like I was half on the road and half off, and if I went any further off, the car would have tumbled over a cliff. And so we get there and we start walking, and we get about, I don't know, maybe a half mile in, which I think that our average hike is a 4 mile hike, and a half mile in.
You're hiking on the beach or in the mountains?
No, in the mountains to start.
So is this like the Santa Monica Mountains?
Sure, whatever's in Malibu, off of like by Topanga Canyon.
Okay.
So we start walking, we get up, we see a couple of really cool views, and then all of a sudden I'm like, we got to go, because I was so worried that my car was going to get damaged by somebody running into it. So I stopped the hike. I'm like, heck with it. We can just go to Santa Monica, walk on the ocean by the pier, and that was an experience.
So you left the hike early because you missed your car? Your midlife crisis
Yeah,
car.
I've
Left trips early, like vacations early, because I miss my dogs,
yeah, I don't
but
know.
never for a car.
I don't know how this compares, but I really
Were you scared the car was going to get broken into?
no ran into.
Hmm.
So I think more than that. That's yeah, definitely. I felt pretty comfortable about the theft part of where it was parked. But let me tell you about this. This is a fascinating thing that happened. So in Santa Monica, in this area right by the pier, there's this walk path, bike path. People skateboard. It's fun to watch all the different people. Typically, not that day, but when we got there, the police were asking. So there's these fruit vendors that hang out on those little areas, and they'll sell you a bunch of like chopped fruit with tahini and then chamoy in it and everything like that.
That's
so they all
more
have
of
like
a
these.
California thing, so you have to explain. So the fruit would be like, so usually they're a Latin person
Yes.
that has a little cart
Yes.
that is not, how would you say, approved by the health department.
Probably not. Probably not a lot of regulation.
Not really a refrigeration mechanism in the cart usually. Ice, it's just on ice.
Yeah. Bagged ice.
And then it's usually sliced up mangoes,
mangoes, pineapples.
pineapples,
Coconuts.
sometimes jicama.
Yep. I had a little jicama yesterday.
So most people probably don't know what jicama is, but it's in the potato family. It's like a cross between a potato and an apple, kind of.
So wonderful.
And then what they do is they take this fruit that's chopped up, they throw it in a plastic bag,
A cup.
and then
it's like
this is
it's
a
a
cup?
huge solo cup.
Okay, a solo cup, and then you put hot sauce on the fruit, which might be counterintuitive to most people listening to this, that you would put hot sauce on fruit, but that's what they do.
Yeah.
Well, then how much is it?
$12.
Ooh, it's gone up.
You get $1.50 worth of fruit for $12. But
But it's a common thing that you'll see at intersections.
yeah, in a mile you might see on that trail you might see 10 vendors, probably is what I would say. So maybe every 10th of a mile. So when we got there were these two vendors that were right at like a busy walking intersection, and the police were there asking like for their documentation to make sure that they could be selling on the beach and everything like that. And they're just
Because
giving.
they didn't have documentation.
No, they did.
Oh, really?
And they were just giving them a heck of a time. And even after the documentation, then they're like, well, you can't be this close to the boardwalk. And they like made them move around. And I'm like, I walked away and I go to Claudia. I'm like, man, they're really giving those fruit vendors a hard time. I mean, like, do they not have anything to do? And then so 25 feet later, like within viewing distance of where the cops are giving the vendors the hard time, there's this dude in the sand, naked, hunched over, doing his business.
Oh my gosh, so gross.
And all I could think about is like, thank God those people had their permits.
Did Claudia
because-
see it?
Yeah, she almost threw up.
Yeah.
But it was terrible. And
That's LA though.
I know,
That's
but imagine
that's
having
the country we're running here.
imagine having a 5-year-old. And walking
The
past
people,
that.
the homeless people have more rights than we do.
Nobody said a word to him. It was great.
Yeah, I think about that every time I get hassled about something. I'm like, really? You want to hassle me? There's a guy over there shooting up heroin. Like literally, just people shooting up, doing what. This is what the end looks like.
Right. Yeah, you're way more apt to get a parking ticket than taken to jail for shooting heroin on the street.
Or shooting somebody. Like whatever.
Yeah.
Like yeah, it's nuts.
So that was my other than the naked guy on the beach. It was actually a really nice day.
Yeah, well, what about Kash's story about his car getting stolen? So Jenna's car, 2 people here in our office had their car stolen within 2 months.
That's right.
Kash's car was stolen from the valet in his building. The guy tried to run the valet guy over, ran through the gate of the building, and the cops told him, "Oh, we're not gonna try to find this guy because they'll just let him out the next day." But
Right.
a fruit stand,
It's gotta go.
gotta go.
My goodness.
Or me
gracious.
parking on the sidewalk here in front of the building.
I saw you did a new spot today.
Well, that was because they were delivering the speakers. I had to, the guy made me move, but I put it back.
Oh, that
I
looked
got
like
a parking ticket on the other side.
Sure.
I'm averaging like maybe 3 parking tickets a month
Which actually is about the same as what it would be to park in the parking garage, right?
Yeah. So you guys, to give you a little context, we specialize in commercial real estate that doesn't have parking. So we bought this building that is cost us more than we thought.
It's been a little bit of a money pit.
6 months longer than we thought.
We had an opportunity for another building, but it had really good parking, and he's like, no.
We had to do it down here in the edge of zombie land. But anyways, the park, like if you park on the street here, they just steal your catalytic converter, break into, they literally steal catalytic converters just right next, like they don't care.
Yeah, you can watch
the cops don't care. They don't come. So I park on the sidewalk in front of our building so we can keep an eye on my car's name's Winston. So we can keep an eye on Winston. And every once in a while we get a parking ticket. The parking guy saw me one day and he said, "Hey, my boss wants me to talk to you. You can't park on the sidewalk." And I said, "Why? I pay the tickets when you give them to me." And he's like, "Yeah, but you can't park on the sidewalk." I said, "Well, I'm not parking over there. Like they steal catalytic converters, whatever." And the guy goes, "Well, that's not my department. I'm parking." I'm like, "Yeah, well, clearly nobody's in the stopping stealing catalytic converter department, but the parking ticket department's healthy. They got a lot of people. A lot of people want that job."
He just wants you out of the
like,
department.
"That's not my department."
That's so hilarious.
I'm like, "Well, tell your boss that I pay the tickets. It's fine. I'm not going to give you a hard time. But if you feel like writing me a parking ticket, go ahead. I'm not moving it." From parking right on the sidewalk. And he said something about pedestrians. I'm like, they can walk around.
You could say like, "Hey, I know if I just move it, someone's going to put a tent there anyways." And you won't write that guy a ticket.
You know what's funny is the tickets vary in price.
Depending on their mood?
So if a cop writes it, it's 80. If the parking person writes it, it's 60.
Oh, then just leave the parking guys on there.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. Why just pay them right away?
Yeah, but leave the sleeve and the little paper in there in the windshield when you park. Give it a try. See if you don't get any more tickets. Like if they already think they got you once, they won't get you again.
I kind of want to see how many I'll get. Just think about it. Only in a month, I went like a whole month where I didn't get one, and now the last week I've gotten 2.
I like that you're
back on me.
You're getting talked about at the shift meeting.
Yeah,
I get the Range
supervisor
Rover
down at 14 enforcement's like, "Hey, there's some guy down there that isn't following the rules."
I think the only funny thing is that you're probably like the only one that pays them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I told the guy, I go, when he said that, I go, "What? I paying him. Like I pay him right away. I hand him to Missy, and she goes online or something. I don't know what she does."
Yeah, it's really easy actually.
I told her, I said I got one today, and she goes, "Oh, I just paid the other one that I got last week." Okay, your fruit thing's pretty funny. Another thing I want to talk about is have you ever noticed a pattern? All right, let me ask this question another way. Do you think there's certain cars that shouldn't be sold because the people that drive those cars are not, how do you say this? Not smart, I guess.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that part of the story.
Do you think there are certain cars?
There are.
Do you believe that, like, you know how they say people look like their dogs? Like, I look like a
bulldog.
I look like a bulldog. Yeah. Kosh looks like Goose.
A little bit.
Yeah. No, he does. He does. They're both compact and stout. And like, have you ever like ran into Kosh? Like he's like a rock. Like he's very substantial. Goose is the same way. Goose,
that's great.
His dog Goose is like got a lot of leverage and strong and buff, right?
Yep.
Okay, Sammy looks a little bit like spaghetti.
Yeah, a little bit for sure.
Right?
Please don't take that the wrong way, Sammy.
She won't. The Sammy spaghetti's adorable, beautiful dog. So same thing with cars. Do you believe that cars match up to the people that drive them?
I definitely think in some cases.
Like, for example, midlife crisis. Like, you're like, okay. Like, is there anything else but a convertible sports car that says midlife crisis? You can't go buy a big SUV and say and
that
project
can't be
on
the
having a midlife
car?
crisis, right?
Like an Escalade's not a midlife crisis car?
No, an Escalade is Uber. You're going to be driving Uber.
Okay. Lord knows I shouldn't drive Uber.
If you have any sort of black American SUV, you're driving Uber,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, fair.
Every time you are behind a car in the fast lane that looks like they're in a different, like they're following a different set of rules, like they didn't get the memo that it's the fast lane.
Yeah.
Every time you're at a stoplight and the stoplight turns green, but the person somehow didn't get the memo that the light's green, and you're like doing that weird thing, do I honk or will they I'm going to honk if they don't, should I honk? And then you honk and then they still take off slow.
Yeah.
Right? Every time you get cut off, like, you know how people can edge into you and kind of cut you off and then they slow down.
My favorite.
Yeah. Like, okay, if you're going to cut me off, but get out of the way. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Right? Every time anything like that happens, they're driving one sort of car.
They are.
You know what it is?
I do.
What is it?
A Toyota Prius.
Yes. We should outlaw Toyota Priuses.
Yeah.
The people that drive Priuses are, there should be a test or something. I don't know. You know, like there's no test to have a kid. Anybody can have a kid. There's plenty of people that shouldn't have kids that procreate and have kids, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Same thing with the Prius. Like there's got to be a test. Like a driving
like a life
test at
skills or
Toyota
driving
dealerships
test?
before you sell a Prius.
That's funny. I just saw a Prius the other day that had like the best bumper sticker ever on it. It said
Bernie.
It said
president.
it said in quotation marks. It said "cool Prius" and then "no one ever." Yeah, I thought that was hilarious.
Oh man. I know when people were talking about, the new Prius, I'm like, oh man, it's not a new driver. Same driver.
It looks better than it did.
New body style, but same issues.
I don't even understand how they have
There's so many of
I don't even understand how they have the power to cut you off. But honestly, there's about as many Teslas as Priuses. Like they're making a serious impact on the.
Wow, it seems like they're everywhere where I live. It's nuts. Okay. Let's do the news and then we'll get to the subject today, which I'm really excited to talk about, Bud Light.
Yeah, this is everyone's going to want to tune in for this. So first, I think this is interesting. This is a little bit of probably a little more sales centric, but I actually thought that this was pretty interesting just in terms of adaptability. CarMax launches new online pre-qualification capability where customers can shop cars nationwide, but already have their financing terms figured out. So obviously they were really the first to the market with the one price thing where they didn't haggle. And now essentially they're, they pre-qualify online and you can actually know what your interest rate is before they even run your credit. And I thought that was pretty smart. So they can look at the inventory nationwide and actually structure their deal because there's no negotiating on the price. And now they're offering up what the interest rates are going to be. So literally you can figure everything out you need to figure out before you set foot onto the CarMax lot. So I thought that was good. The lesson there is just remembering how easy we make it to do business with ourselves, right? So I thought that was a good lesson that we can learn from old CarMax. Then speaking of Priuses, let's talk about Tesla, which is not a Prius. And they actually had a big win last week where they were found that they weren't negligible in that autopilot car crash that happened a ways back. You remember that?
No.
Oh, so California State Court jury on Friday handed Tesla a sweeping win, finding the electric vehicle maker's autopilot feature did not fail in what appeared to be the first trial related to a crash involving the partially automated driving software. So
isn't Elon's thing about the self-driving is that it will make mistakes, but it's still
better
light years ahead of Prius drivers?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he says. It's about Prius at the end of the day. All right, and that's it for the news for today.
Okay, I'm excited to talk about this Bud Light. So, if you don't know, about Bud Light. We'll explain it. But the question we want to ask you is, could your service department be the next Bud Light? Now, Bud Light has had a little bit of a hard time lately because the marketing vice president, whoever's in charge of marketing at Anheuser-Busch, decided that Bud Light was lowbrow, I guess, in a sense. Like, she kind of had a disdain for the people that are the Bud Light customers. And she said they're all frat boys, kind of a thing.
But she worked there and knew the client.
But she wanted to re-educate. She wanted to, I don't know if she wanted to re-educate them. She wants a new customer for Bud Light, basically. She wants to impose her agenda, her social agenda on Bud Light.
Okay.
Right? She wants to impose her agenda on...
Most certainly. I mean, keep going. I think that there's more to this overall, but...
What? So how would you... Well, Bud Light still was the top beer, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the top soda is still Diet Coke, right? So more people, I think, buy Bud Light than
Budweiser.
But she's saying like it's a brand in decline, but it was was number one. Now it'll probably be Coors Light. But the light beers sell better. Just like diet sodas sell better, but they still sell in high quantities. So she did a TikTok. She paid an influencer that she put the face of the influencer on Bud Light, and people got upset about that. So then Kid Rock and a bunch of people started doing videos shooting Bud Light cans, and it instigated a ban.
Which you had to buy Bud Light to shoot it, which I thought was funny.
No, he probably took it out of his
He probably already had
refrigerator.
He had a surplus.
And that was it, and he's not buying it anymore. But then an interview surfaced of her the week before she did that, explaining that she kind of she's trying to impose a social agenda. If you read through the line, she's trying to impose her ideology on people that drink Bud Light. It's ideology before business.
And that's the mistake. Like, do businesses have to have a social ideology?
No.
I think it's okay to just be the product. It's okay just to be the...
It might be better just to be the product.
Yeah, it's okay just to be the Bud Light for whoever it is their target market is, and that's all right. The other thing I think is I feel like that lady's a little bit of the scapegoat coup, because there's no way like she just took this project on her own and did all that stuff without somebody else being like, okay, that's a good idea. It's somebody at Bud Light said, let's try it. She's taking all the flack, but there's no way that one person's responsible to get the can to look all that with that person on it.
Maybe. I don't know. But she clearly in the interview, if you watch it, knows what she's doing and has an agenda. And you can hear an underlying disdain for the customers she's there to serve.
Yeah, and I think it's terrible to take a job where you hate the customer.
Now, at the end of this, everybody, I'm going to tell you how this could be fixed, but they would never do it. I could take Bud Light, get them back to where they were, and increase their sales on top of that. But they will never do what it is I'm going to suggest that they do.
No, but I've heard you say what you would do, and it's way more in alignment.
And you could do any version of what I'm going to suggest, and it would work. But they wouldn't do it. They never would, right?
I don't know about never.
Okay, so Bud Light is canceled. That people aren't buying Bud Light anymore. They're boycotting it. In a sense, right? And so the stock prices dropped. She's taken a leave of absence, which she'll probably be let go, or the leave of absence will lead to some sort of severance and a mutual separation, I would guess. Went to Harvard, by the way. She went to Harvard. How does this apply to us in fixed ops? I remember years ago wanting to talk about the disruption of Tesla in the automotive industry in my NADA workshop. And they came back to me and they said, so the way that NADA worked was you had to give your workshop to their panel, and then they would give you notes. So before you did it, they wanted you to perform it, and then they would give you notes. And they said, there's 2 things that we want you to take out. One is we don't want you to call your ex-wife Satan.
Which is missing a huge laugh, by the way.
I still did it.
Yeah, I would have too.
And the second one was, we don't want you to talk about Tesla. And I said, why? And they said, because it's not a popular subject with the dealers. And I think I said, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I said, well, I'm there to tell the dealers the truth. I'm there to help them. I'm not there to not talk about something because it's not popular. I'm trying to help them get ahead.
Right.
Like, that's my role. My role is I'm a coach here. I'm trying to get them to be the best versions of themselves. And there's this thing called the Chris Collins effect, which is you disagree with me in the moment. You go home, you talk to your spouse or kids or whatever, and then you come back and you go, oh, you know what? I think you were right. Which happens often. But they didn't want me to talk about Tesla. So I took it out, never have done NADA again. Think, a lot of the problems in this industry might not be what they are if NADA was actually organized and wasn't just trying to sell the dealers something. It was actually a group to move the industry forward, unite everybody, right?
In hindsight, I feel like that was the perfect time to talk about Tesla.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, but they didn't want to.
They didn't want to hear it.
Now we're sitting on a thing like the thing I've always said is it's not just if new car sales go down in our industry, which they have had, it's how much of the market share is Tesla going to get. Now, if you look at Tesla stuff, they think that they could get 95% of the market share of car sales.
It's bold.
95%. Now, think about this for a second. Little Kosh here, who you previously drove a Prius, and then
and probably cut people off.
Didn't you have like a Honda Pilot?
RAV4.
RAV4. He loved the RAV4. Then he got an Acura. He hated the Acura.
Which was the one that got stolen.
Then his Acura got stolen, and so he needs a new car. So he needs a new car. Like, he has to have a car. His car got stolen. It got beat up. Like, the whole thing. Probably has check in hand to go get a new car. And what was it you wanted to get?
The electric Jeep.
So he wants to get an electric Jeep.
The 4xe.
He spent I think he talked about it for a week. He was asking us, blah, blah, blah. I told him to talk to you.
I don't know anybody close.
Okay. So he goes to the dealership like on a Saturday or whatever. His intention is to buy a Jeep. He's there all day, gets so frustrated with the experience in the shucking and jiving and it's crazy that he leaves and literally buys a Tesla in no time whatsoever. And now he can't believe, he said when he came in on Monday, he said, like, this is the car for me. It's incredible. Like, he loves the technology. He loves everything about it. Super easy. When I bought the Missy's Tesla, I ordered it online. I did everything online. They showed up. A nice kid. He goes, what do you want us to show you? He did like an orientation, hopped in an Uber and left. That was it. We never went anywhere. It came to us, the whole thing. And so think about all of the things that we do in our day-to-day practices that we impose on the customers, right? The write-up process is the way that it is because what? The way we inspect cars and call the customers later instead of inspecting them up for all of the things that we're doing, we're imposing our will on the customers because that's how we've always done them, not because that's what the consumers want.
Or that it's the most efficient or the best, anything like that. Yes. It's the old adage. It's how we've always done it.
And so customers don't want to wait 3 weeks to get in.
They don't?
They don't, right? But we don't have technicians, right? Customers want to not be treated like a number. We treat them like a number. Customers don't want to wait in line. They don't want, the whole way we do the service department and how we make them feel during that process, how they feel ignored, how they feel like they're just another number, all of that, they don't want, but we're doing it. Why?
Because that's how we've always done it.
Yeah. We're imposing our will on them because that's how we've always done it, which doesn't make us much different than the Bud Light lady trying to impose her ideology on everybody else. The only difference I would say is ours is unconscious, hers was conscious.
Very much so.
We're doing it because we have just always done it. We're not really conscious, but I would invite everybody to step back for a second and go through the process as your customer. Have somebody in your family come in as a customer and secret shop from appointment to driving in, the whole thing, and really listen to their feedback.
It will change the way that you do service.
Yeah.
And yet we keep
don't
going.
defend it.
Yeah.
Really listen. Like, do this exercise with the intention to make the customer experience better, not to justify it.
Yeah. It's just one of those weird traditions that we always do. Kind of like prom, right? That tradition that everybody has a prom in the spring every year. And I have a question for you. Why did the skeleton not go to prom?
Why?
He didn't have the guts to ask anyone.
It's pretty good.
Thank you.
Okay, and do you want to add anything to this?
No, that's pretty good. I think that the thing that I was yeah, okay, I'm going to go with this. All right, so I was in a store a couple of months ago and just observing.
What kind of store?
Let's say it was a Chrysler store. But I'm in this Chrysler store and I'm just watching a couple of the advisors, and they had this thing where every time the customer walked away from the desk, they're like, "Man, that customer was crazy." And then the other advisor's like, "They sure were." And then another customer would come in and they'd write them up and they'd be like, "Man, that customer was crazy." And they just keep complaining and complaining and complaining. And I said, well, we've got one of two things we could do here. I'm like, we could either say they're not all crazy and go that way, or we could say we're in the business of helping crazy people and get really good at it, but just complaining about customers being crazy, no benefit to it, right? Like, if you have that disdain for your customer, then you're going to end up in the Bud Light scenario where you're not going to act in their best interest. You're going to act in your own, and they're going to cancel you. That's kind of what I was thinking. Now, maybe this is on a one-on-one basis with one customer, but like, if you're treating one customer like crap, you're treating them all like crap. I think is kind of how I feel at the end of the day. But the lesson is,
to that point, like, I realized something about, and I think it's more and more it's with the younger kids, but it goes, it's an equal opportunity issue. People keep forgetting who's paying the bills. Customers are paying the bills. Like, more and more the conversations are like that we're entitled, that customers are going to do it our way, or, customers are an inconvenience from us being on Facebook all day or whatever it is. And it's like, when did we lose sight of the fact that customers are the ones that are the revenue? Revenue comes from customers.
That's right.
Don't you feel like that's been lost? Nobody's really ever talking about how to improve the customer experience. They're talking about how to make it easier for themselves, how to have more time off, how to do less, how to take shortcuts.
Yeah.
But rarely are we talking about how to improve the customer experience.
I think that is an industry, sometimes we act like there's a never-ending flow of people coming in our doors. And the truth is the opposite, that every day I think we lose more customers. Every day I think someone says, "I'm not going to go back to that place."
Yeah, I was surprised that Kashon bought a Tesla. I was surprised that was after all the work he did and how invested he was in an electric Jeep.
He was excited about it.
Yeah, and like he's not an unreasonable person.
No, not. As a matter of fact, I would say he's really sweet when it comes
Yeah.
to that stuff. He's probably more tolerant than either you or I would have been.
Yeah.
Either way, I think he's going to enjoy the Tesla. It's a pretty easy car to own. And,
Okay, so now let me tell everybody how I would fix Bud Light's issue.
oh, that's right.
This is the last thing we're gonna say. You could fix it by hiring Kid Rock or anybody like Kid Rock to do commercials and have Trump show up at the end of the commercial for some reason, like just walk in the room or I came in the wrong door or whatever. But I don't know. I think for about $10 million, you could fix your $1 billion problem. Now, it doesn't have to be Kid Rock. You could get Morgan Wallen. You could get Hardy. You could get, I don't know. Who are the famous wrestlers right now?
Stone Cold Steve Austin?
No, like current.
Oh, I don't know. I don't watch wrestling. The Rock? Is The Rock current?
I don't think Rock would do it. He's not going to.
Hulk Hogan?
Too many people telling him what to do. No, like somebody current. Like, I don't know. Whoever the current wrestler is. Anybody that appeals to that like demographic, that like fun. You could bring, we could get Will Ferrell to bring back Talladega Nights, or he could bring back Hank the Tank.
Frank the Tank.
Yeah, we could have him just running, drinking Bud Light.
Or go on streaking.
Yeah, that's all it would take, and you could turn it around. But they won't do that.
Honestly, if they wanted to...
They are anti-serving up the thing that their customer wants, because really at the end of the day, the Bud Light customer is pretty simple.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, if they didn't want to use Will Ferrell, I know a guy that hangs out in Santa Monica that would be happy to streak in exchange for Bud Light for payment.
That's not going to get on TV.
Probably not.
Yeah, that's not good.
Woof.
Okay, so there you go. Free advice, Bud Light, but you won't take it.
What? Free advice doesn't work for you?
Yeah, you could pay me, a couple $1 million and then do it.
And they listen.
Yeah. Oh, maddening. Should we have ideology we're trying to impose on people?
No.
No.
I really don't think
Hey,
so.
by the way, everybody, if you don't know this, we have arguably the best service manager, service advisor, technician recruiting, customer service, BDC training
office
out there on our on-demand platform that is very reasonable. We'll have a huge ROI on it, but we have on-demand online 24/7. You can set all your advisors up. You can see what they've done, your technicians, what courses they've taken. The whole thing's pretty robust, pretty fancy, and very, very effective for you. And there's zero ideology in there.
Yeah, we're not trying to get you to do anything.
There's literally zero ideology.
Yeah.
Really. The ideology is take care of customers and do the right thing.
That's right.
If that's an ideology.
We'll take it though.
Yeah. But don't forget, if you're not on our platform, there's no reason for you not to be. We'd love to have you in the family. You can email info@ChrisCollins, and we'll get somebody to follow up with you if we need to help get you hooked up on that. But that's it. That's all I got.
Good day.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time on Service Drive Revolution.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of Service Job Revolution. We're uploading new stuff every day, so make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show, call 8333-ASK-SDR and we'll answer your question on the show. That's 8333-ASK-SDR. For special deals on our books and training, head over to offers.chriscollinsinc.com. Now that's offers.chriscollinsinc.com. I'm Chris Collins, and I'll see you in the next video.